We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Aloha, Deal Junkies. Welcome back. Shaka. Yeah, we're here in our brand new studio in Maui. It's very nice.
We have no video with the podcast typically, though, so no one that's listening will see this. Unless they follow us on Instagram, they may.
Oh.
We'll go clip it.
We'll go look at our Facebook page. You should like our Facebook page, and then you can go look at us. We're sitting in Maui right now. We just couldn't help but do a Deal Junkies episode for you. So we're having fun. I know that it looks like we just travel all the time, which we do. Actually, I was thinking about this. We have time freedom, sort of, but we don't really have time freedom. We have more like location freedom.
Yeah.
Because a few moments ago, everybody was sitting on their laptops. We're in Maui, but we're all working. So yeah. I don't know if that's time freedom or not. Maybe we haven't figured this out yet. Anyway, we're having fun. We're in Maui. We're having a good time. And we wanted to bring you an episode about Napoleon Hill. So I think that Napoleon Hill is probably, if not one of the most prolific success writers in the history of man. I've read parts of his books. You guys know that I don't really read that much. Like, I don't read like a whole book.
You read titles.
You start reading.
Are you tired, Dane?
Trevor told me to sit back.
Dane just got here at like...
Oh, I was trying to...
No, Trevor...
Don't take a nap. I was taking a nap right now.
I was leaning forward.
So...
I did get here so late, though. Yeah.
We should tell that story. So we're in Maui, and Trevor goes, "Oh, you guys are in Maui? I want to come over." So you guys have done this before. So Trevor gets on an airplane. He goes, "I'll meet you guys there." And we're getting on the airplane. Trevor's on the same flight that we are. So
really?
So we got here, and a couple of days later, Dane's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to come over there."
No, on the plane ride here, though, Brandon texted Chad. He said, "Can I come to Maui?" Because I loosely invited him on Not My Trip. And then he texted Chad about it.
So Brandon Eastman's here with us now. Chad Montgomery is here with us.
Yeah.
And we're having a good time in Maui. We're sunburned. We played pickleball yesterday on the beach and we got sunburned. So Dane got in like 3 a.m. Oregon time or something like that last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Oregon time.
But we had to fly in the most important deal junkie if we're going to record this episode.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this specifically because you talk about this book all the time. And then I realized I thought I had read this book. And I don't think I've ever read this book.
So there's lots of books, by the way. Think and Grow Rich might be his most famous one. And this is not Think and Grow Rich. We actually have a study guide here today. One of my mentors allowed me to borrow this PMA book. PMA, you guys know what PMA stands for?
Project Management Agreement.
No, it does stand for that in property management. It's actually Property Management Agreement. Oh, you're saying Project Management because you were an engineer.
So what's it stand for?
It stands for Positive Mental Attitude.
All right.
So they do a collection of all the Napoleon Hill books, and this book
in this book, okay,
is PMA.
So yeah, I started learning about him once you told me. I was like Googling him and whatnot. So he was born, or he lived in like the 30s.
It was a long time ago, 100 years ago.
And so his whole stick was he studied all these very successful people, kind of like podcasters do today, right? He just did that way before his time, and he documented it all.
He was the original podcaster.
Yeah, and he just documented all the stories of Andrew Carnegie and all these dudes, and then he came up with Think and Grow Rich and all these other books, but life principles that people live by to think and grow rich is the idea.
Yeah, the answer's in the title of the book. You don't even have to read the book.
See, that's what you tell me, but so the book Buy Back Your Time, it's the same thing, right? The whole book, if you just don't know anything about it and you read the title, you'll be like, Buy Back Your Time, how interesting. And then you read the book and you're like, oh, it's all in the title, and it makes sense. After you know the information.
So what you're saying is you don't have a frame of reference until you read the information, and then you go and read after you've read it and you go back and look, and you're like, oh, now it makes sense.
So that's where you're at. So I read the title Think and Grow Rich and I'm like, that sounds great. I would love to think and grow rich, but what does that mean? Like, buy back your time to me means I know I can track my hours, I can go hire these people, take these action steps now, and I literally buy my time back so I have more time. But to think and grow rich, you tell me I think too much, so like what does it mean to think and grow rich?
Well, so part of the study guide, we just opened it up actually. I've gone through this a little bit, but I haven't really read it. By the way, the foreword is thanking Andrew Carnegie, where Napoleon Hill actually thanks him because there's hundreds of people that helped him put all of this information together. But Andrew Carnegie was like, that was ground zero for him, where he learned a lot of these concepts. And so this isn't, Napoleon Hill didn't necessarily invent any of this stuff.
He's sharing it.
He's just like, there are a lot of successful people out there. And at the time, there were guys like that were really shaping America and our industry and our economy. And he got access to these people, and he was able to just study them and spend lots of time with them and build friendships with them and learn the wisdom and learn a lot of the common threads that each one of them had. And then he compiled all of this data. So it's all available. It wouldn't cost you more than a couple $100 to probably buy every book he's ever written. And I think it's super important. I think if you study anybody who talks about success, it always comes back to mindset. And it sounds a little, even, Paul Curley, it gets a little woo-woo, where it's like, oh, it's all in your mind, and you have to be positive, and you have to energize it, and you have to manifest your destiny, and all these things sound very esoteric, like it's not really, it's like, okay, that's great, but can you guys just tell me how to do a deal? Because I just want to do a deal. And we're really good about the nuts and bolts of teaching people how to do deals, but we don't oftentimes get into our head space and where we're at, and the way we talk to ourselves, the way we look at ourselves, and the way we think. And that's really the whole idea, is you have to get your mind into a place where you manifest your destiny. You decide where you're going to go. Everything around us, we're sitting in this beautiful multi-billion-dollar complex right now. Like, this would have never happened. It didn't happen on accident. It happened because somebody thought in their mind, I want to put buildings here. How do we build buildings and parking lots and,
So in his book, like, I'm only one chapter in after you told me to do it, but he talks about it's all about desire and then knowing the end goal.
Which
right?
book are you reading? Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, as the starting point. So that's what you mean by.
So he's saying program your mind on where you're going.
I mean, you're having a vision. Yeah.
What happens is right now, and you do this a lot, is in your consciousness, you're trying to be very mindful and intentional about the actions that you take, and you're trying to find efficiencies and do all these things. What Napoleon Hill talks about is putting your mind into a state to where you don't do those things consciously anymore. It happens subconsciously. So you start taking the right actions because your North Star is now correct. You've got the compass faced in the right direction. And now all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, and you're moving towards your goal. Whereas I think a lot of people don't have that compass yet. And that compass really is your mind in figuring out where is it we really want to go, and thinking about what is the end result of what we're trying to accomplish.
So how do you come up with you can pick any end result, but for you, like, what is the end result to you? Because there's so many options and things you can do, so that it's hard to pick that one thing. Right now you work in the wrong direction towards something.
Well, I mean, you guys have all heard me say a million times, I'm here to make friends and have fun.
Yeah.
If I'm making friends and having fun, I'm going in the right direction. That's my North Star.
Yeah.
If I'm making enemies and I'm having a horrible time, I'm going the wrong direction. And so it doesn't matter if it's a building or a business or a friendship or a partnership, if it starts to make me stressed out, or if it starts to make my life not so fun, or I'm staying up at night, or my anxiety's high, or whatever, then I've gotten off course and I need to redirect myself, because I have, and it may not be my fault necessarily, or it may be. Paul would tell you that it's your fault. So like when Paul has high vacancy, he doesn't go like, oh, I need to pull all my managers together and talk to them about what kind of photos are we taking, where are we advertising, are our rents too high? The first thing he does is say, like, I had negative thinking, I brought this on myself. And it sounds, like to us, doesn't that sound like a really foreign concept to just think
he
like,
has full control now, though.
Yeah, but
in his mind,
and he's taking ownership. But isn't that interesting that he's not criticizing himself for his actions? He's criticizing himself for the thoughts that are going through his mind, and he's thinking in a negative way. Like, I have too much vacancy, too much vacancy, too much vacancy. Next thing you know, he has too much vacancy. Right? We end up. We were talking to Brandon and I were talking about this last night. We end up going where we look. Right? We've talked about you're a motorcyclist, and if you look at the cliff, you go off the cliff. You don't want to go off the cliff. And we do this as human beings. I don't know why, but it's human nature to focus on the negative. I think that we're designed to like solve problems and figure out what's wrong. If you stub your toe, the whole rest of your body feels totally fine, but the only thing you're going to think about is your toe because it hurts. You got a problem. So that's exactly where your brain goes to, right? In your life, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to be going through your day, and 99% of your day, it might be awesome. But there's one little thing that got under your craw or pissed you off, and that's going to be the one thing that you think about. So your mind literally I think instead of just having thoughts and just going with the first instinct you have to do with those thoughts, to be able to stop yourself in that moment and say, why am I having this thought? Or why am I having this feeling? Is a really important step to becoming successful and being able to control your thoughts, because you'll have feelings. You'll become angry, happy, mad, sad, whatever it is. But most people just react on their feeling, right? If you can stop yourself from having and just go like, oh, why am I feeling this right now? And if you can take an inventory of yourself and find out what are the thoughts that are going through my mind, what are my habits right now, what am I doing that's putting me in this mindset, and try to find a way out of that, because it's like a vortex. You get stuck inside and it's just a downward spiral, and you'll just take yourself somewhere you don't need to go because it's not going to do anything positive for you.
So at what point are you overthinking though on all that?
Well, I mean, what do you think, Dan?
My take is you're overthinking when you think the same thing 30 times and don't
without
do
taking
it,
action.
and you never do it. That is overthinking. Thinking is good, but when it's overthinking, it's because you've thought so much, but you haven't actually taken action on it. And his whole, the whole principle that Napoleon Hill continually pushes is think very directly, think in an organized manner, think about what your goal is, and then make a plan to get there, but then do the thing to get there. Don't just keep thinking about it over and over when you know that it's probably a good plan. Because I think your fear is that it's not the perfect plan, or it's not the one that you wish was already in place right now.
Who like, when you guys think of Trevor and Dane, you guys think of yourselves, who are you? Like, are you your body? Are you your brain? Are you your thoughts? Are you your emotion?
Thoughts more so.
You think you are your thoughts? You don't think...
No, I guess your thoughts are...
You're having thoughts.
I'm having thoughts.
Trevor is having thoughts with his brain. You have a brain.
I feel like I'm my actions then.
Well, you are a being, right? And you're a spiritual being. Mm-hmm. And that spiritual being has a body, and it has a brain, and that brain has thoughts. But you are not your body, you're not your brain, and you're not your thoughts. Like, it's a really weird thing to think about. Like, who are you when you take away all those things? Some might believe they are their thoughts, and that could be the problem. The thoughts have control over them, and they don't have control over their own thoughts. It's one of the really critical parts of this learning, is to learn how to control your thoughts. And so you are not your thoughts. You have thoughts.
No.
But that is not your identity.
I'm just a dude who wants to own all the real estate, and I want you to tell me how I use this book to do so.
Okay, so we always talk about how Napoleon Hill says action is the only real measure of intelligence, or action is the highest form of intelligence. So we open up this study guide, and in bold letters right in the middle, it says, the way of success is the way to action, based upon organized thinking, followed by action, action, action.
Okay, so tell me
this is why I don't read books, because you can just read one sentence and you get everything you need. Why would you read this whole book when you got that?
Because you understand how to do this.
I don't.
See, here's what I do. Tell me if this is what I do. The way of success is the way to action based upon organized thinking.
Followed by organized thinking.
You want to know how to organize your thinking?
No, that's all he does.
That's all I do is organize my thinking.
That's what you were saying. Is that he's so consciously thinking all the time? Yeah,
I'm thinking too much.
Just organized thinking. Okay, we should think more about the thing that we already thought about, and then say the same thing.
I feel like I can create a pretty good plan, pretty quickly on a lot of things. I look back at the plans I've made, and I'm like, if I would have just done more steps on the plan, it would have been better than thinking about this plan and how to make this plan better.
Yeah.
So what you got to do, instead of trying to consciously solve your problem, is you need to subconsciously put your mind in a state to where you go solve these problems subconsciously.
So how the hell do I do that?
I don't know if you can because you're a robot, but we're going to try to upgrade your programming so you get there. Human beings, though, can do this, I promise. And you're a successful guy, so you do a lot of these things already naturally. But I think that going back to the point of having control over what your thoughts are, how many times when you have a thought, are you able to stop yourself and analyze that thought and say, this is why I did, whoa. Oh my gosh. Our podcast studio is really nice,
no
but
soundproofing.
it also has a garbage dump behind it or something. I swear to God, there's a beach behind us. We're not at the landfill right now.
It's all audio.
That's why I'm explaining it, in case you're not watching this right now. Okay, so you can read these books. The question is what are you going to actually take from it, and what are you going to do? Studying is studying. You get the information, but if you don't do anything with that information, then what does it do? The other thing is if you can't apply it, then it has no purpose, right? And the other thing is, even if you could apply it, but you're not applying it often, you'll lose it. And so you have to be able to understand concepts, and you have to put them into action, and then you have to do it repetitively. And to me, the only way that's really going to happen, hopefully you guys can still hear us right now.
We can take a pause for a second.
No, it's okay.
Okay,
you want to pause?
Dump some more.
Okay. All right, guys, sorry about that. We're back.
We don't remember what we were talking about, though.
It's too long of a break.
So, okay, question for you. So you're talking about taking action, thinking of the plan. So
Organized thinking.
Organized.
How do you organize? I'm talking about how do you organize your thinking? How do you stop yourself when you're having unorganized thinking and organize your thinking?
So let me give you a real life example of where I feel like I failed at this or we failed at this. So we went to Sweden, right? We thought of this new structure we want to buy deals with. Like, this is a great idea, right? Here's the plan. And then we did nothing with it for the next 6 months.
Well, you might have done nothing with it, but Dane did something with it.
Yeah,
he wrote out like a whole white paper on it. We put it on our website. We did.
I feel like but the amount we did some stuff with it.
We took some action.
Yeah, but very minimal over like that time frame. Like,
well, was it really much different than what we were already doing? I think we just kind of gave organization to something we already believed in.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like I don't do any of the action. I'm just I thought about that thing a lot. Mm-hmm. I talked about that thing a lot, but I didn't do these actions to make it happen.
Okay.
Why am I doing that? Because I want this thing, but I'm not doing these things to get it.
Because you like thinking a lot and you don't like the actions. Because the thinking seems hard to you, and then when you actually start doing the actions, you're like, you get bored of it so
It's like
fast.
buying a deal is more fun than owning a deal?
Yeah.
So how do I fix that?
We talk about like
how we not be able to fix that. I mean, it might just be that we talk about partnerships and just pairing yourself with partners that offer different things than you do, and it might just be that you're the thinker of our group. I will say this is in many times in my life, especially, I told the story of losing a bunch of money flipping houses. When I get super stressed out, and normally when I get super stressed out, it's over finances. What really helps me is to just sit down and start writing things down. And in my mind, problems oftentimes seem and feel a lot bigger than they actually are. And so one way that I like to organize my thinking is to sit down and just put it on a piece of paper. And usually, at least if you may think like, oh, I'm totally effed. Like, I'm going down the tubes, like I'm going to lose everything or whatever the case may be. And it's in your mind. You're having negative thoughts. Mm-hmm. Even Paul Curley talks about how he's caught himself having negative thoughts, not energizing his positivity, not actually feeling good about his positivity. You can say you're positive all you want, but if you don't feel positive, you're not truly positive, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the idea here is almost, it's like brainwashing yourself. And if you read Think and Grow Rich, it's a very weird book. it very much feels like you're being brainwashed, and I don't exactly understand what happens because I've only read about half of it, but I can tell you it worked. Right? Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, there is something, the way that it gets inside your brain and it teaches you how to just set up your psyche to steer you towards success, and you will do it instinctually. It will happen instinctually. So you're still trying to figure out why. This is like trying to answer the question, who is God? How did we get to this place where we're at right now? You know, like, what is happening right now? How did we get here? What happens when we die? Why are we even here to begin with? Like, these are questions that are very difficult to answer. And so you have to have some faith, and you have to understand that you're a far more powerful being than you realize you are. Like, you were put on earth to do far more than just own all the real estate. That's a really fun goal for you to keep you busy while you're here, but there's something way more important for why you're put on this earth. And so,
why are you looking at me like that? Dane's making a weird face.
No, I just looked at him. I wanted him to tell us what it was.
well, I don't know that I can tell you what it is.
No, I wanted him to tell us.
Oh,
what
you
it
want
was.
Trevor to tell us
Yeah.
what it was?
Why?
Why he was put here
Have you
on
ever
earth?
thought about that?
No. Never.
Have you ever thought about why you're here?
Maybe at some point, not any time recently that I remember. I also don't remember things that happened more than 3 weeks ago.
So what you're saying is you're not really a deep thinker.
Maybe about some things. I don't know what kind, like, I don't know. I don't know how to compare it.
Because that seems like a question like for the guy who wants to build spreadsheets all day
But
long.
that's how, what am I going to do with that information?
That's the thing that drives.
Have you ever just walked outside at night and looked up in the sky and seen all the stars?
Yeah, I have seen the stars at night.
Like, you go on your backpacking trips where you can see a lot of stars?
Yeah.
Have you ever looked up in the stars and just been like, wow, like,
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just a speck of dust floating on a rock through
Yeah, you
this
feel
infinite
small.
universe?
Sure. Insignificant.
And then do you ever just think, why?
Do you ever have existential crises?
No,
Like,
Really?
I don't think so.
You've
oh,
got.
I'm sure I have. Define existential crisis. Like, you're just like,
Well,
what's
you
the
like.
point?
It's like when you're doing so. When you're doing just all the actions, but you haven't done the thinking part, and then you kind of start to do the organized thinking, and then you're saying,
Why was I doing
wait,
that?
why was I doing all the stuff that I was doing? Why does any of this stuff matter? And then you kind of
I've done that.
rabbit hole down like, why does any of it matter? And
why I
then
quit my job.
your conclusion was buy all the real estate was why it matters.
No, I want to do that because what else is there to do? Like, that's just like, that's a thing you get to do forever, and it's the most fun thing.
You're hearing from a true deal junkie. Trevor
That
is
is
a true
crazy.
deal junkie. So, okay. So, what I'm asking you is, since you like to think all the time, isn't it strange that you've never, like, wondered how we got here?
So, yeah, I used to think about that many, many years ago, and then I realized I couldn't come up with the answer, so I stopped thinking
It's something
about
that
it.
cannot be solved, so
Yeah.
you move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many people much smarter than me have thought about this for many years,
Yeah.
and they can figure
So
it out.
do you think your life has purpose?
Whatever purpose I decide it has, like, I get to determine.
Okay, that's part of it. Sure.
I can do whatever I want.
What does Dane think?
I don't think that you can just say you decide you have purpose like internally and have that actually drive you.
I mean, you could go
On a day.
find purpose.
Yeah.
You think you're just assigned a random purpose?
No.
So you get to pick.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to talk about.
But I think what you pick is probably what you were designed to have if you pick the right one. Right?
Yes. I think that you, at some point, you realize like the skills that you have, and you have to pick the thing that is the highest use of the skills that you have. And I don't think that it is necessarily based on buying all of the real
Well,
estate.
maybe for Trevor it is.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it certainly can't be.
And maybe for Paul it is. Maybe they have the same purpose. Maybe that's just what
It's a fun activity.
That's why they were put here. It's a fun activity.
You can do other things. So Brandon, when I went to the Maui,
There's a lot of fun activities. I can think of
That's
things
on
more fun than
activities.
buying all the deals. Maybe.
I don't know.
It is pretty fun.
That's one of my favorite things.
It
No,
is
no,
It's your favorite thing.
Yeah. So when I went to the Maui Mastermind, something helpful that Brandon talked about, he's like, okay, if you're trying to think of your purpose, like you don't necessarily need to know it right now, but if you set yourself up so you have the most skills, most amount of money, most relationships, by the time you figure it out, you'll be able to execute on that much better at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, that's good advice. So I stopped trying to figure it out for that like time period, because I was like, if I just have, I can make a bigger impact if I collect all the money right now, and then I know a purpose later, rather than trying to figure out your purpose, not really having money, and then you know.
I think you have the skills and the network now to go back and look for a purpose.
Probably, yeah.
And I think if you had a purpose, it would make your thought life far more organized, and it would make it far easier to take action, because you'd have a North Star. You'd finally have a compass, and you would know why you want to own all the real estate.
Well, I was trying to make you a billionaire.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's a fun one.
You like that one?
I can get behind that.
I
purpose.
love that purpose. My child, my sweet child.
We'll get on board for this one.
I watched Mad Max last night on the plane. It feels like Trevor's just one of the dudes painted white, ready to go to Valhalla for his king.
Oh,
Sorry,
man.
that's a reference that might be lost on a lot of people.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
So one of the things you asked me a little bit about what I took away from Napoleon Hill, and there's one thing in specific I do want to talk about is there's part of Think and Grow Rich you'll get to where he talks about successful people have to become the masters of deflecting negative energy. And energy sounds it sounds a little bit out there, like energy, like what is positive energy, what is negative energy, why do we talk in these terms of positive and negative? Why is this book PMA, positive mental attitude? Why do we naturally gravitate towards the negative? You know, it's just there's something that happens in our mind. And I think that this is exaggerated for entrepreneurs. Talking to Mark Gallegos a few weeks ago, and I've mentioned this before, but like as entrepreneurs, we solve problems.
Yeah.
And so our purpose, one of our purposes, because of our mindset, is that we attract problems because we solve problems. So we like problem solving. One of the reasons you like to think is because you're a good thinker. Usually we do the things that we're good at. We like to do the things that we're good at. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that is your purpose. Like we would not be highly likely to go run off and do something we really hate. So if you're doing something every day and you hate it, then you're doing the wrong thing. Like so that there's one takeaway is like you may say you hate it, but if you just keep doing it, then maybe you secretly love it or you love to hate it. And so you keep doing it. But if you really are doing something, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it should feel like you want to do it. Something's got to wake you up in the morning. Something's got to get you excited. Mm-hmm. Real estate gets us excited, so that's what brings us all together as a community. There are other things that get other people excited, right? You know, a doctor or a nurse doesn't get up and get excited about buying real estate. They may make enough money one day to where they come invest in one of our deals so that they can own some real estate because I think that's a good idea. But what gets them up in the morning is getting down to the hospital early, helping people heal and do the things that they do because that was what they were born to do. Like that, you don't go to school for 12 years and dedicate your whole life to something to where you know, you can make good money, but it's like there's more money to be made doing other things where you don't have to deal with the things that those people have to deal with, right? And so everybody's cut from a different cloth. It takes all types to make the world go round. Not everybody was meant to own real estate. Most people don't even care. They don't even want to own the real estate. Most people don't even want to be billionaires. They just are millionaires even. Like they would love to have some financial freedom and come to Maui or do some of the things that other people get to do that have money. But the reality is if they had the lifestyle they wanted, money is not all that important to them. They're just looking for what the money can do for them, right? And so we're playing this game like it's a game. And so we're like a bunch of like Dungeon and Dragon nerds that are like roll the 20-sided die. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's why it's fun.
It is. But I mean, the point of it is like everybody listening is like, but I want to go to Maui and I want to make money and I want to do more deals, right? That's what a deal, that's who our listener is you guys want to be more successful. What I'm getting at is like, don't lose sight of the life you were looking for when you go off to become successful, because if you get your mind right, you will be successful. And then you may have so much fun being successful and doing the thing you're doing to be successful, you may forget the whole reason why you started to begin with. And I think that that's okay in some sense, but in others, I think that you really want to stop. And I have like, I talk about Brian Miles, my first real estate mentor, who it was a life-changing mentorship for me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without him. But he was really good at like being all in on something until he said, "This is when I'm done," and then he just stopped. He stopped like one day. He's like, "Okay, I've bought all the deals I'm going to buy. That was how many I wanted," and he stopped. "I want to own these businesses up until I'm this age," and then he stopped. And then I'm going to go, now he rides a mountain bike and enjoys life and skis and hangs out with his wife and travels and does what he wants to do in his 60s, and they're healthy and they're having fun. Like, I mean, that is one choice in life that you can live, but he never lost sight. His North Star was he wanted to retire in his early 60s and have enough money to enjoy life and be able to travel and live in a nice place and do the things that he wanted to do and be around the people that he wanted to be around. His goal wasn't to just do real estate the rest of his life. You compare and contrast him with Paul Curley, the mentor that I picked up from Brian Miles and sort of got passed over to. And Paul, like, we joke about how when we're laying in the hospital bed breathing our last breath, we'll be docu-signing on an iPad our last deal to close on. Like, we love doing deals so much, we want to keep buying deals. And I'm probably wired a little more like Paul, but I'm still also somewhat like Brian, like in the sense that I don't necessarily want to stack on more stress or whatever. As I get older and older, I just want to have more fun and I want to make more friends, and that's my North Star. I don't want more lawsuits, and I don't want more freaking sewer lines to break and more roofs that have to be done. I mean, like, at some point that stuff just gets old. Like, I want to sit in Maui, enjoy my family, invite you guys over and have our friends come with us.
If you organize your plan, other people can deal with those roofs for you.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. That's why I brought you this book to read. Because I said, this is a really long book. I better bring it to Trevor. But I found one sentence in here that makes sense to me. And so I said, oh, yeah, okay. So I'm going to organize my thinking and take action.
I told somebody that, like, our loan docs from the deal that we recently closed were like 220 pages long. And one of the guys we were just on a trip with, and he was like, whoa. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, so, but they're pretty standard. And I was like, they always try to sneak something in there. And he was like, so how do you find it? And I was like, that's why we have Trevor. I said, so Trevor, I started to read them, and then I remember that I want Trevor to just read them. And Trevor always asks if I'm going to read the loan docs. And I say yes half the time, and then I realize that Trevor's still going to read them either way because he doesn't want me to be the one liable for reading the loan docs.
I'll spend 3 minutes and go through it and tell you what our term and our rate is. And
yeah.
Oh, okay,
like, so we are getting a loan.
What's this paragraph on page 187? Trevor's going, I don't like the language in this sentence. And I'm going, how did you even get there, dude?
You know why I learned that you should read loan docs?
Why?
Because you got smoked on a pair of loan docs.
We didn't read loan docs, and then we thought we were getting interest rates and amortization schedules that we weren't
getting.
Yeah, you did get
based on what the bank told you, or the debt broker.
The debt broker, yes.
Hey, whatever, dude.
So then you fire that debt broker.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so going back to this negative thinking thing, becoming a master of deflecting negative energy, so we talked about getting our own mind right, having positive mental attitude, organizing our thinking, and taking action. And when we have a thought, asking ourselves, why do I have this thought, right? And being mindful about your thinking. Just thinking is not being mindful. It's two separate things. So to actually be intentional about your thought and ask yourself, why am I thinking this right now? Especially when you start to become negative and you start to think, why isn't the market turning? Why am I not closing deals? Why are we not finding deals? Why are these rents not going up? Why do I get this lawsuit? What, like, why do I always have stress? Why is this not going the way that I want it to go? You have to get your mind right. And one of the ways to do that is to just get out of yourself, because you start to have a pity party. And we've talked a lot about recovery and alcoholism and other things on this podcast. Since we are junkies, we're deal junkies, which is a much healthier addiction, I might say. But addiction is a disease of self. And a pity party, being wrapped up in yourself, is depressing and it makes you want to give up. And so you have to get out of yourself. There are ways to get out of yourself. One of those ways is to go help other people. One of the reasons why our lives are so enriched and we're having so much fun in real estate is we're not just doing real estate for ourselves. We're helping other people buy real estate. We're counseling other people on the deals that we're doing. And we get excited when other people get to buy deals or come in on deals with us, right? Mm-hmm. So we're bringing in a community, and that community is very enriching to be a part of. We're not just doing something for ourselves. I believe that one of your purposes, if not your main purpose, Trevor, is to build community. And Brandon mentioned it on his podcast when he talked about, between the meetup, this podcast, the things you're doing on social media, and with Vesta in the way you're coaching people to go buy deals, is you understand that you have something to offer that other people want. And you're willing to give that away and add value and build those communities, because you see a value in not only building it, but being part of it for us and for them, right? And that was something that never happened with SMI or with anything. Like, I brought you guys in and I taught our brokers and as many people as I could. I tried to get to buy real estate, but you actually went out and said, oh, I think we need to build this community. We need to have an SRE investor meetup. We need to have these other pieces. And now look at what's happening. Like, you run the biggest meetup in the area. People look to you as an expert. You guys helping people get into their first or second or third investment property. You're changing people's lives. And so I believe that your purpose isn't to own all the real estate and be a billionaire. I believe your purpose is to help as many people as possible to find what it is they're looking for that real estate will give them, whether that's financial freedom or time freedom or location freedom like we have. So you are helping others. Now, there may be a selfish motive behind that, and everybody has selfish motives.
3% off the top.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, but I mean, I think that's a Napoleon Hill thing, and maybe it's somebody else who says that you got to give away whatever it is you want in life. You got to give it to enough people.
Zig Ziglar?
Zig Ziglar. So
I don't even know who Zig
I think
Ziglar
you're right.
is. You
Yeah,
just say that,
he's a success guy. Yeah, is that How to Win Friends and Influence People? No. Zig Ziglar's one of the greatest sales trainers of all time.
I thought he was a musician. Like Bob Marley. Zig Ziglar.
He thought he was ZZ Top because he had the initials. Zig Ziglar.
So I think the only reason I tell people how to buy deals is because I understand there's an unlimited amount of deals to buy, so I'm not worried.
Well, how are you going to own them all if you're selling them to other people?
I'm going to own them all, and I think
I'm going to buy them from those people.
I think
those are future sellers.
I think you can own all of the real estate if you have a repeatable system, because there's funds, right, that acquire one type of real estate over and over. You just have to have many of those.
What do you mean when you use the word all?
All.
Like, do you want to own Earth? Like,
yeah.
Is your goal?
You know what would happen if you owned all of Earth? One night you'd walk outside, look at the stars, you go, oh,
I got it on the moon.
There's like a trillion more we got to go get.
That was Elon's guiding light. He knew way ahead of time.
We have to get to Mars.
He knew way ahead of time.
Do you want to play finite games or infinite games?
I would love to play infinite games that are really a game that you can play.
This is a game you can play.
Yeah, I actually like winning. And I wouldn't feel like I had won if my goal was to...
I don't like winning. I like playing.
No, I like winning.
I like both.
Yeah.
I like to still be in the game, but I still like the game when I lose.
That's true. It depends on the game.
It's fun to win.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't lose so bad you can't play the game anymore, it's still fun to lose. It's still fun to lose,
The point of the game is to keep playing the game.
That's the infinite mindset.
Yeah.
If you win the game, then the game's over.
No, that's not true.
Yes, that's that a game ends
if-
when you have a winner.
That's
and
if you
loser.
beat
That's
the game
end
and
of
you
the
don't
game.
want to play it again. I think on a deal by deal basis. That's
Dave
why
just wants to win the game
if
every day.
My goal is to buy the next deal. My goal is not to buy every deal.
Every deal.
Every good deal.
Yeah.
Every deal is a good deal.
I don't know about that.
With the right price and terms, yes.
No,
You for sure. Name one deal that you wouldn't do.
I don't want to own anything in Honduras.
Why not? What if
No
they paid?
offense.
What if they
No
paid you to
offense.
own it? So
No
so Gabe was telling no. Gabe
Honduras.
no. Yeah, you would. 'Cause Gabe-
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, you would.
Idiot.
because Gabe,
I know what you want.
You were just telling us. So the Blackstone or BlackRock picked up a canal, ownership of a canal, and the government paid them to take over
Panama
ownership
Canal.
of the. It wasn't Panama, was it?
I think it's
It-
Panama
you
now,
said
or
the-
Suez, or I don't know. They
Anyway.
gave control of it. to
So
Black-
if the government
Black
gave Dan
Rock.
McKinney money to take over Honduras and accomplish something, I think you would do that.
Yeah, dude. Maybe in like
See?
20
I told
years.
you.
I don't know.
I told you.
Well, you're already 26. Didn't
Yeah.
you have a birthday?
I don't think I want to.
Donald Trump was flipping skyscrapers when he was 25 years old.
Yeah, I don't think I want
I
to.
think
do
you're
it.
26.
I'm behind.
You can.
I'm
You can do
behind.
this, Dane. Come on, get with it.
I don't want the Panama Canal either. Like, I think I'm closer to Brian than Trevor. I think that's
You're trying to
actually. I think
build-
I'm closer to you. Like, I think
Somewhere in the
I think I
middle.
say that I want to own like a huge portfolio, and I do. But I really just like doing the next deal, and I like making friends and having fun.
I want to combine Brian and Paul's retirement strategy to where
Yeah.
I can go do whatever I want whenever I want,
Yeah.
and the machine still keeps moving and adding more assets to the portfolio. I don't ever want to stop buying or stop doing
Yeah.
deals or stop doing business. I want to stay in business as long as I possibly can and have time and location freedom to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want. That I think, and to be quite honest, the way to get there is to help more people. And once you get there, you can help more people when you think about it. Like, it frees you up. When you have what you need, this is like you're on the airplane and they tell you put your oxygen mask on before you put your kid's oxygen mask on. Like, I think if you can take care of yourself to the point where you can help other people, you can get to that level to where, unless you're just a total greedy bastard, like Trevor. First I lifted him up, then I tore him down. You see how I did it opposite?
Yeah, that's good. Or wait.
No, I mean, I think that once you have enough, it's much easier to think about other people because you're not just in full-on survival mode. When you're like, I don't know how I'm going to make rent this month. I don't know how I'm going to make the car payment. I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids. You're not out thinking about how you can help the community and help other people feed their kids or make their car payments. You're thinking about your problem. Once you've solved most of your problems, you can start to help other people solve their problems and show them the path on how you solve your problem. And that's a lot about, making mistakes in real estate deals. If you're going to buy real estate and that's what you want to do, you're about ready to get on a roller coaster ride, or maybe you're already on it. And that ride at times is going to be super fun. And there's going to be other times of that ride that it just totally scares the crap out of you. And you're like, I want off of this ride.
Yeah.
But you just don't give up and you don't get off the ride and you keep going. There are people who get into real estate and they go on the ride for a little while, and at the first stop, they're like, let me off. I don't want to do this anymore. So it is not for the faint of heart. It is not for everybody. But going back to the negative thinking, you have to be able to stop yourself when you start having negative thinking. Then when other people start throwing negativity your way, which will happen, it'll happen from your tenants, it'll happen from your managers. I never hear from a property manager when anything good happens at any of our properties. I only hear when bad things happen. That's the only time I get news. The only news I get is bad news, right? They say no news is good news. For me, that's true. The only news I get is bad news. Well, how do you deflect negative energy? So I think about that a lot when, you get from time to time a complaint or a lawsuit or an employee problem, or there are issues that arrive when you're playing this game. They're boss battles, or there are things that come up. There's adversity.
Yeah.
If there was no adversity, the game would not be fun to play. It'd be like playing a video game on infinite
mode.
life cheat mode, and you play for 3 minutes and you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, if there is no sort of pushback,
Stress.
that could possibly wipe you out and end your game, there's no excitement.
No,
it's
not
a dumb game,
Yeah.
right? So this game can wipe you out, and oftentimes it'll feel like it is wiping you out, and it'll kick you, where it'll kick you right there,
Yeah, in the teeth.
right in your crotch, and then you'll just be like. Anyway, so there are people in my life that are negative. There are, whether it's a family member, a friend, a spouse, a partner, an employee, a coworker, like negativity, you have to really protect yourself from it. You can't get wrapped up in it, and you have to learn how to deflect it. And if you can't turn that situation into a positive, you have to literally avoid those situations and those people, because you cannot be around negativity. One of the reasons I asked Paul, after we were friends for a few years, like, we talked a little bit about our friendship and what brought us together. And he basically, the way he described it is that we were both just like these hopeless optimists, like for no matter what, we just were always positive.
Yeah.
And like, things were going wrong around us all the time, but we kept our heads on straight, and we found a way to stay positive, not just in the like, I'm going to talk positive, but I really truly believe in my heart that this is going to work out, and I'm going to learn something from this, and I'm going to become better from this, and it's going to help me make even more money or be more successful or whatever the case may be. And I think if you're leveling yourself up, the losses are not losses at all. They're just education. And you've heard you can either win or learn. There really is no failure unless you give up. That's a really important thing to keep in mind, especially if you're going through a season of life where you're losing. When you start to do enough, you'll feel like you're always winning and losing at the same time. And then it's really like, my goal is to, on that, balance sheet of life, I'm trying to focus on the wins, because I'm playing so many games every day that there's lots of wins and lots of losses. Yeah. And it would be very easy for me to just think about losses all the time and go, why am I even doing this? Like, quite honestly, for me, I don't have to own all the real estate. I could go live in my mom's freaking basement and play video games the rest of my life, and I would probably be totally content.
That's a lie.
I don't know.
You have that option.
I mean, I'm an all or nothing person. Yeah. So it's like, either we're going to go buy all the real estate and build this big forever company that, like Brandon was talking about. Like, we're going to build something so much bigger than ourselves that they'll look back one day and study the things that we talked about and listen to this podcast, right? Like, that's...
And then they're going to say, if these guys did that, anyone can do it.
Well, I mean, think about it,
That's
right?
book.
But if we're not going to do it, like, then for me, when you talk about purpose and, I just want to do this, or, own all the buildings or whatever because it sounds fun, to me, that's not enough. Like, I'm either going to go all in, or I'm just not going to play the game at all. You guys taught me to play poker, and you haven't seen me for a while. And Chad goes, how come you haven't been to poker? And I'm like, well, you guys only bet like $100. And he goes, so? And he goes... I go, well, at least like bring $1,000. And he's like, yeah, but if I do that, then half the people won't show up to poker. I'm like, all right, well, when you do it, give me a call and I'll show. It's like, there's not enough for me. Not like, even 1,000 is, there's not enough at stake to make it exciting and get my heart pumping.
Yeah, I want to be stressed.
Yeah, I don't just want to go play cards. We can go play solitaire or do whatever. If we're going to gamble, like, let's gamble something real. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to drive across town and play poker. So I want the stakes of the game to be high. I don't just want to play any game. I want to play a game that could wipe you out.
And that's why you can't stay in your mom's basement and play Zelda for 24 hours.
But if I can't play that game, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, what am I going to do? Like, if I can't play that game, I'm just going to, like, I mean, you don't have to go do any of this stuff. You don't have to be successful. There's lots of normal people in the world that don't do what we do. They live a normal life and they work a job and they're happy. And
they're really happy. I think a lot of them are really happy.
Yeah, they're content with much less than we already have.
Much less than the entire earth under their ownership.
You know that, like, they say that if you have a bank account with no money in it, you're richer than half the people in the world, just because you have access to a bank. They also say that, like, half the world lives on less than $1 a day. I don't know if that number is still true or not.
Something like that. Inflation, it's $1.20 now.
$1.20. I mean, literally, if you have clean water and like a roof over your head and you can breathe clean air and you haven't missed a meal in a couple of days, like you're one of the richest people on earth. It's true. And we live in America. The poorest people in America equate to some of the richest people in a lot of the countries in the world. We have access to things that people never had access to before, you know? And so I think that we're going back again to how do you get out of yourself and how do you protect your mind and deflect negative energy. One of the ways is to build a gratitude list and write down all the things that you're thankful for. And it's really important to, I think, make it super small, like boil it down to the most basic things that you take for granted so that you try to not take them for granted, right? I have a wonderful marriage. I have great friendships. I have good partners. I have a nice business and portfolio. I have plenty of money. I've got, I mean, you know, you could sit there as an entrepreneur and always just focus on what's wrong. And trust me, there are plenty of things right now in my life that need to be fixed. And that's what I'm focused on because I need to go fix them. But you have to stop every day and go, but this is where I'm really at. And take a view, get out of yourself and make a gratitude list or go help somebody else. Think about somebody other than yourself. That's a really great way to not feel like things are going wrong all the time. And I think, I don't know that I learned all that from Napoleon Hill, but I think that it very much lines up with biblical teachings, Buddhist teachings, the AA principles. If you look, you find a common thread through all of these things. And really, at the end of the day, our biggest enemy is us. That is what's going to stop you from becoming the person that you're supposed to be, is you. And so you have, I think, you know, they talk in some Eastern religions, they talk about enlightenment. I don't know if that's like Buddhist or Hindu or what it is. I think enlightenment is actually like when you yourself, your ego, your being, like fades into the background and you're like almost not even there anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no longer, because we all start as human beings, we're naturally selfish, fearful, greedy. If you read about in this book, you read about the ways to be not successful. Those are the ways to be not successful, right? Is you have fear and you have insecurity and you have indecisiveness and you're just a ball of anxiety and depression and you think about yourself all the time and you suck the energy out of a room. That's the opposite of success. Success is, you know, I am helping everybody that I can possibly help. I'm adding as much value to the world as I can possibly add. And I'm helping other people and I'm being grateful for what I have and not constantly thinking about what I don't have, right? And feeling super lucky and super blessed to be in the place that we're in, you know, good friendships, sitting in Maui, recording a podcast, having fun, talking about how to get our head straight. Most everybody else is working their job right now and worried about like, oh, my boss needs me to go do this next task or whatever the case may be. We have the time to sit here and go like, oh, there's this big ass book. We should like look at it and see how we can get our mind straight. I mean, just to have the freedom to be able to stop and go like, how could we have the right mindset to be successful? That's a luxury.
It's a wonderful problem to have.
It's a wonderful
That's actually one of my
problem
favorite things to do as far as like gratitude journal goes, which Trevor started his. I want to hear what you wrote down last night, if anything made it on the night before.
I'm about a week out because I left it at home and I've been in Vegas and here. And then I didn't continue it. But my iPhone tells me to do it every night and I say, tell me again tomorrow.
And then you just started.
Why don't you, can't you just do it on your phone?
I could, yeah.
Yeah, I just do it.
Sounds like
I do it in my head usually. I write it down a lot of times, but
I pray my gratitude list.
Well, that's me doing it in my head.
Because I'm not good at praying. So when I pray, that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very good way to pray.
Just to be thankful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't pray, I think that that's a good way to.
Even if you don't believe in God,
You don't
can
have
pray.
to. Yeah, I think that that's the whole idea. Is like you can just prayer is just a form of meditation, but it's a more directed conversation if you're religious, and otherwise it's just to focus your thoughts in a more articulated
That's
manner.
what Napoleon Hill's talking about. Is when we set our thoughts, like when you're worrying about something, you are praying. You may not be somebody that thinks you pray, but when you're worrying, you're praying for the wrong thing to happen. And so you can flip that. And on the other side of that is you can not worry, and you can think about the things that you want to manifest into your life. And you want to be peaceful. You want to have serenity and calmness and less stress and more money and all the things that you want. And you can manifest that by actually just thinking on it. And what's really cool is if you want to take it to the next level, rather than praying for that to happen to you, pray for it to happen to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's magical. Like the things that happen when you start to do that, especially somebody you don't like.
Oh, it makes life so much better. It really does. That's not a bit. Because I remember the first time that I genuinely, flipped the switch from, and now I feel like I'm this way in most relationships, but used to when somebody wronged me and it would make me angry or whatever it was, and I had resentment, and I was trying to, in my mind, not even in reality, but just in my mind, was hoping that their life would be worse. It's an awful way to go throughout your day. And then the moment that I was wait, the thing that they did actually had nothing to do with me. That's just them. That's their bad. That's their
side of the
and
street.
I feel so bad that they're in a position where they even did something like that. What if I just hoped that they would stop? What if I just hoped that their lives got better, that they could fix actions like that? I'm being super broad right now, but I think generally wishing the best for people that you don't like just releases some sort of tightness in your soul.
The Bible says pray for your enemies. The big book of Alcoholics Anonymous says that take all the things that you wish you had, and then the person that you have a resentment against, pray for them every day for 3 weeks for the resentment to go away. It works in one day. I don't know why it works exactly, but it's really a good way to get yourself back into the right mindset, because part of your negativity will be resentments, and anger that is unresolved is what resentment is. And you start to stew on something. Resentment can turn into bitterness. It can turn into it can shorten your life. It's like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. It's not a good thing for you. You need to have forgiveness, and you need to do that. And it's really hard to pray that somebody you're really pissed off at gets all the things out of life that you want out of life. Yeah. But it works, and it's a way to be positive. I think there's a lot of this stuff. I think we talk a lot about spiritual principles of real estate and stuff, and I think that just a big part of your success comes from those principles of being in a place where you don't hold resentment, you don't hold anger. And I saw something the other day where it said, step one is it's the other person's fault. Step two, level 2 is saying, no, it's not their fault, it's my fault. And step 3 is what you just said, is it's nobody's fault. Yeah. And once you stop placing blame, some of the best advice Brian Miles ever gave me is he said, you should live your life by these rules, that you should expect nothing, blame no one, and do something. And this is action. This is action. You should take action. Setting high expectations, or any expectations at all, is what sets you up to have resentment and anger, right? Yeah. So you should lower the expectations as far as you can. And the blame no one part is taking responsibility and accountability for your own actions. It's not your job to keep everybody else's side of the street clean. It's your job to keep your side of the street clean. And so you've heard the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's not in the Bible, by the way. That's just a prayer that people say. That's a famous prayer. Yeah. But the idea there is to accept the fact that you cannot change other people. You have to have the courage to change yourself, and to know the wisdom. The wisdom part of that is understanding that you think you can change the world by trying to force everybody into the mold that you're trying to put them into. But the reality is the only person you can change is you. And once you change you, then you can change the world.
That's what I was gonna.
That's almost like that's like a Gandhi thing, right?
Well,
that was talks about that.
It's Nietzsche, actually.
Nietzsche?
Yeah,
okay.
it is, or however you say that dude's name. I've heard it 1,000 times, and I still probably pronounce it different every time. But there's this idea that you're responsible for only your actions initially, but once you have like true agency, then you realize that you're responsible for both your own actions and the actions of everybody around you. And it's this idea that like if you were truly doing everything that you could be doing to be the best person that you could be, then the people around you would act differently because of that. And so like when you think of the most powerful people in your life, like the best people who you've ever had the pleasure to be around, and it's like, okay, immediately 3 people popped in your head. Immediately, you just thought of me and Gabe probably. But you think of those people and it's like, well, okay, if I can immediately think of those people, how have those people subconsciously changed the way that I act purely by their actions?
Like the butterfly effect.
Yeah, butterfly.
The ripple effect.
Totally.
They've touched so many people.
Yeah.
Those people have touched so many people, and lives have been changed because of that positive interaction.
Yeah. No, but I think that's like a spiritual principle of just life, is just that your actions, if you don't think that your actions affect the people around you, then you have no reason to act in a good manner. Like it's almost hedonistic.
I think it's because people don't realize how powerful we are.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you recognize how powerful every individual is, we would all take this a lot more seriously.
Oh, you'd have way more agency. If you thought that your actions really had the influence that they do, not that they could, but that they do. Oh my, you'd change.
And they do.
Yeah, yeah. I think Trevor thinks that. Trevor does have actions that make other people act in a better manner. Gabe and I are working on it.
It's interesting to know what makes Trevor tick.
Oh, he's just sick that we're not talking about deals. He's so ready for a nap or like to go play pickleball or something.
I think we have to plug him back into his charger. He looks a little low on batteries right now.
I wanted you to tell me how I use this book.
Action.
No, you don't want me to. If I told you, you wouldn't do what I told you to do anyway. And then eventually one day you come back and you go, Gabe, remember when you told me that? You were right. I should have done it this way.
No, I like to ask, gather information, forget who told me, and then think it's my own idea.
Yeah.
30 days later, because then that's how you implement it, is when it's your own idea.
Oh, yeah, you got to make it your idea. That's fine. I don't care. It's not my idea anyway. All ideas are stolen. Somebody else already had them already. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that it doesn't matter, right? All that really matters is that all the information that you need to be successful. Like, I didn't even pay for this book. Somebody just handed it to me. Like, if you just take a minute, I mean, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just start looking at it. As a matter of fact, this guy took notes in here, and I'm reading his notes instead of the book. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like,
that's a good thought.
I'm like, geez, that really makes sense. I really like that. So take the time to really study your mind and find out if your thought life is correct. Are you thinking of things in the right way? Are you being positive? Are you attracting positive? That's the other thing, is when you are really positive, you'll start attracting positive people, and the combination of positive people creates a synergy that almost automatically creates success. Mm-hmm. We were sitting in the pool yesterday, and Trevor was talking about, I can't remember, something about past lives and other things, and I'm like, when I was in the trailer park smoking crack, like, I was hanging out with a lot of douchebags, and there were a lot of bad people around me. Yeah. And now I'm sitting in a pool with a bunch of ballers, and I've been sober for 21 years, and I'm living the life that, I never even dreamed I could possibly have, but I had to change me. That's what had to happen. I didn't just walk out of the trailer park and throw the crack pipe in the dumpster and go hang out with ballers. Like, I had to first get me to that point. And some people might think, oh, well, now that you're successful and you made money, now all these people that are successful and have money want to hang out with you. Well, that's exactly true. For some
And
reason,
you'd be right.
they didn't want to hang out with me when I was in the trailer park
Yeah.
smoking crack, and now they want to hang out with me because
Yeah.
I'm more like they are. Birds of a feather flock together. So
Yeah.
you're going to you surround yourself with positive people, even if you're not around people that have a bunch of money or have not accomplished a whole lot of things. As long as you're surrounding yourself with people who are positive and are trying to do good in the world and trying to better themselves every day, you guys will do great things together. And I think that's really what Trevor is doing, building this community and passing on this positivity. And I think it's super powerful the way that we get everybody together. And I think that everybody listening right now should share this podcast with your friends so that they can be successful with us. And we can all do this together, and we can change the world just by putting our own positive energy into the world.
I like that. Trevor, what are your feelings about that?
I just want to know how I can take more action, because that's what I've been trying to figure out. So you think I should I have all the thoughts, I should just
Take the action.
Take the action. But there's so many actions you could take.
Take one.
Yeah.
You just pick.
Take
you
one
just,
action.
You just
Stop
guess.
thinking.
You accept this.
No,
is
you
the
write it
action.
down. Organized thinking, write it down.
Have you organized your thoughts?
And then take it.
Yeah, too much.
Are they on a spreadsheet, or where'd you put them?
Yeah, they're on they're on the internet.
Do we have access to this? Is this like a shared
Dan
drive?
does.
or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have access to
You
it.
should share this publicly with the whole world to see. I think
He does. It's crazy.
TrevorsThoughts.com.
He's got thoughts, and he'll write thoughts down or like assign me a task, and then do that 3 more times, the same one, and then I'll
I
be
have
like,
the
dude,
same
you
thoughts.
you just said you told me to do, or like you wrote this thing down.
I forgot, I thought
And
of
he's
it
like, I
earlier.
forgot, I thought about that already.
Well, maybe your skill set is to have the thought and then delegate the action. Your action is delegating for somebody else to take action.
That would be the most
on-
fun thing for me to do.
But he doesn't like it when other people do it
Why?
because it doesn't turn out the way that he wants it to.
Well, maybe you had the wrong thought, or maybe you didn't share that thought correctly. You didn't communicate it clearly enough.
Yeah.
Or the thought wasn't fully fleshed out yet before you shared it. You were like prematurely just having all these random thoughts, and you're just scaring Dane because he thinks you're a psychopath, sending you all these different things all day long.
No, I know how he thinks. I know why it works the way that it does. It just makes me laugh that it keeps happening. Okay.
All right, should we wrap this up?
Wrap it up.
Supposed to be
It's
a
pool
short
time.
episode.
Was
Was
it?
it?
It's been over an hour.
Oh my gosh.
We
just
got
love-
Gabe preaching.
So yeah,
Once we get Gabe preaching,
Was that
we
your
can't-
goal?
It was
So this
good.
was-
That's why I got fired.
You
up.
gave me some Odyssey elixir. It says
Yeah. Uh-huh.
focus and energy. This is very delicious, by the way, and it gave me cognitive performance.
It boosts your
and it
performance.
boosted my energy.
He's trying to get a sponsorship. like
Thanks,
Jen
Odyssey.
said. So yeah, if you guys, this wasn't a real estate podcast. This one.
Yeah,
So-
it was.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it
it
is.
was.
But this
100%.
is
Not for
stuff.
Trevor.
No, this is stuff that Gabe talks about all the time. So you just got to see the inside of why we like to come to Maui with Gabe, and then he tells us this. But for rather than an hour, 24 hours for 7 days straight.
It's true. We just
So
record
you got
little
to see a
snippets.
little piece of it.
This is the cherry on top.
Yeah.
The creme.
We're always having fun, making friends and having fun. All right, guys, we love you, Deal Junkies. We're signing off, I guess, now from Maui. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please share us with your friends and subscribe and do all those things that you're supposed to do that I'm too old to understand. And we will record some more episodes for you back in Oregon. Aloha.